Week 15 college football playoff rankings headed into conference championship weekends, and this committee is, how do I say this? Completely full of it. Completely full of it. We're going to go through the rankings. I'm going to talk you through the problems as we get to them. Some of these things won't be problems, they'll just be situations that got to be dealt with. So let's talk about it. If you haven't already, I just ask that you like this video. If you've been watching, you enjoy the content, sub to the channel. I'm going to be pumping out videos all playoff long, all off season long, spring ball, camp, recruiting. I'll be talking about it all, you name it. So go ahead and sub to the channel. As for these rankings, man, we've got Ohio State at number 1, no problems. Indiana 2, Georgia 3, Texas Tech 4, Oregon 5, clean slate. Ole Miss is number 6. A lot of people had some questions, myself included. Will they fall? Will they not fall without Lane Kiffin? They're number 6. A&M is number 7. I'm fully convinced if Charlie Weiss Jr. had not been allowed to call the Ole Miss playoff games, they would have fallen to number 7, possibly number 8, but I think number 7. That is just my opinion. I think having their offensive coordinator is a big deal. A&M is number 7, OU at number 8, Alabama at 9, and Notre Dame at number 10. Now, if you follow me, you've heard me preaching for a couple weeks now. Alabama should be above Notre Dame. There's no reason they shouldn't be. They want to talk about the worst loss. The reality is the eye test. They think Notre Dame passes it better than Alabama because Alabama has all these wins. They're beating all these ranked teams. Notre Dame has one ranked win. Don't count Pitt. Stop counting Pitt. They beat USC. That is their quality win. It is their only quality win. It does not stack up to Alabama's resume. So this is not a hit on Alabama. Trust me, I think Alabama should be ranked. I think they deserve to be where they are. That being said, Alabama was number 10 last week. Notre Dame was number 9. Alabama beat a 5-win team. A 5-win team in a close game. And I want you to hear the reasoning that was given for it. They were asked, why did you move Alabama above Notre Dame? What really happened there? They just played a 5-win team. They told us that their reasoning was, for starters, Alabama was up 17 at one point. That was the reasoning they gave. Alabama was up 17 at one point. They don't mention that the game was also tied later, that Auburn came storming back. That doesn't matter. They were just up 17 at one point, and that's what matters. Second of all, they said they ran the ball better. They did run the ball better, especially in the first half, I won't lie. But that's it. You watched the game and said, you know what? Alabama's running the ball well enough. They should be above Notre Dame. That's it. That's not what happened, and I'm going to tell you what happened. Here is the hidden agenda. BYU is at number 11, and they are playing number 4 Texas Tech during conference championship weekend. Now, if Texas Tech wins that game, no big deal, right? Playoffs is the playoffs, top 10 is the top 10, no changes. That being said, BYU wins the game, they've got to be in. And are you going to bump Texas Tech all the way from number 4 to out? No, you're not going to do it. So BYU's in, Texas Tech is in. Who gets bumped out? The answer is whoever is at number 10. Now, if Alabama's at number 10, BYU wins, and Alabama loses to Georgia, that would be bumping Alabama out of the college football playoff. And you might be thinking, what's wrong with that? They're the 10 seed. Just because they're Alabama, they shouldn't get special treatment. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that premise. That being said, Alabama is currently the SEC's number 1 seed. And if they lose that game and get kicked out of the college football playoff, it would not be punishing them for losing. It would be punishing them for happening to be number 10. I understand that. I think that's true. That being said, I think they deserve to be number 9, and I know how it would be taken if this were to unfold. If Alabama were to get knocked out of the playoff after losing because BYU won, everybody would be talking about losing your conference championship and how it can get you bumped out of the playoff, even though that's not what happened. So what did the committee do to maintain not only the validity of the college football playoff, the ranking, and to make these conference championships just feel a little better, make teams feel a little bit more comfortable about playing in them? They said, we're just going to go ahead and shield Alabama from all that. We're going to make sure if BYU wins and Bama loses, they're not number 10. We cannot have them losing as the number 1 seed in the SEC and getting knocked out of the playoff. Are they the 10 seed because they lost to Florida State and not because of what they did in the SEC? Yes. That does not matter. This is all about optics. We cannot have this happen. It is a disaster scenario. The SEC might just burn everything down. They might secede. They might start their own playoff if this were to happen. I understand this, and I think if you're confused about why Alabama jumped above Notre Dame, it's not because Alabama ran the ball better. It's not because they were up 17. It's not because they just corrected or adjusted. They just realized someone's going to get knocked out, and it cannot be Alabama. It can't be. So that is what is going on there. What I wish, and I know people would look at this committee sideways. I know they wouldn't respect them as much. I wish they would come out and say, hey guys, we think Alabama's probably in the playoff because they look good right now, and also they're the SEC's 1 seed. And we just think they should be in above Notre Dame, right? They're in the best conference. They're the 1 seed in that conference. Probably should be in the playoff. They should come out and say that. They should, because it's very clear to anybody with a brain that is exactly what they're doing. That's all I've got on Alabama and Notre Dame. If you keep going down a little farther, though, number 12, you run into Miami, where we have another problem. I'm running into this situation online where I see everybody saying, yes, Miami beat Notre Dame, but Notre Dame has been much better since. Notre Dame has a much better resume. And to that I say, stop. Stop right there. Can you argue that Notre Dame has looked better? Yes. Would I pick Notre Dame to beat Miami? Yes. But I've picked a football game wrong before. And these two teams played a football game. We saw what happened on the field. Miami won the football game. They beat Notre Dame. So, if they're in that proximity, if they're right next to each other, if they're even close, Miami has to be above Notre Dame. And for all the people who talk about how much better Notre Dame has performed, they've played 4 common opponents. And I'll read them off to you. I got them listed right up here behind this camera. Notre Dame stomped a mud hole in Syracuse. They played their 3rd-string true freshman quarterback on the road. If you want to give Notre Dame major props for that guy throwing them 3 picks in the first quarter, go ahead. Notre Dame 70, Syracuse 7, Miami 38, Syracuse 10. They both played Stanford. Miami beat them worse. Notre Dame allowed 20 points. They both played NC State. Miami beat them worse by 5 points. They both played Pitt. And guess what? Miami scored 1 more point. They allowed 8 less points. You can make all the arguments in the world about who scored late, who did this, who did that, yada, yada, yada. My point isn't that Miami is better, even though you can make the argument they have performed slightly better against the same competition. My argument is that why are we acting like, because Notre Dame has a drop-off in competition, and they've blown out this bad competition, that all of a sudden they just clear Miami? Because of the timing of the wins? Is that all you care about? It's not all I care about. I care about head-to-head more than anything. And if you're not going to honor head-to-head, I can't, what are we doing here? Then it's just an eye test. Then it's just a power rating. And we can't have that out of the College Football Playoff Committee. It cannot happen. The results on the field have to matter. And we're doing this thing where like, oh, if they're right next to each other, then head-to-head would matter. Then we would put Miami. If they're number 9 and 10 and they happen to be in the same pool, no. Head-to-head matters 100 times more than anything else. 100 times. Because listen, I'm a regular season guy to begin with. I love the regular season. I love maximum value put on the regular season. And the games have to matter. We play them for a reason. They aren't out there for fun. It's not a preseason game. Notre Dame and Miami played on a football field, and there was a winner. One team has to be ranked above the other. You can't say, I just think Notre Dame is better, because like me, like you, like everyone else, you've picked a football game wrong before. You've been wrong about the eye test. You've watched a team all year long and thought, that team's really good, and then they got fraud checked. It's happened before. If you look at Notre Dame's schedule and you think, nobody can do what they're doing against that schedule, you are wrong. It is absolutely possible that Miami is a better team than Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has just had a drop-off in competition. So, why leave it up to my discernment? Why are you deciding who's better when they played? They have very, very similar resumes. Very similar. The only difference is, I would argue, that Miami has the better win, and that win happens to be Notre Dame. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Here's my question. BYU wins, or BYU loses, and Duke wins. this playoff committee, are they going to say, we can't leave the ACC out? We can't do it, can we? Are they going to say that? And are they just going to kick out Notre Dame? Just bump Miami last minute up to number 10? Because if Duke wins this thing, JMU is ranked right now. JMU is ranked above any ACC team named Duke. I don't know why I said any ACC team. Point being, if Duke wins, they're out. The ACC is not in. Is that going to be allowed? Because that's not the purpose of this thing. I'll tell you right now, when they did this 5 highest ranked conference champions thing, it was meant to include all 4 power conferences. And it's going to include the ACC, I think, if Duke wins. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to say, like, we had a change of heart, we had this, we had that, this team won and this team lost. They'll make up a reason for it. Don't care what the reasoning is. I think next week, if it comes down to it, they're going to put Miami in this thing if BYU loses. Especially if BYU loses and Duke wins. I don't think there's any way you don't. I really don't think there's any way you don't. I think you have to have an ACC team in the thing if you're this college football playoff committee. The next thing I look at is the group of 5 teams. Tulane, North Texas, both in there. That tells you the winner of that game is in, especially since they're both above James Madison. Even if North Texas wasn't above James Madison, I think a win over Tulane would have propelled them over. So they just went ahead and made things not so sloppy. There's no doubt about what they think. No doubt about what's coming. North Texas would be that team that jumps in. My hope is that JMU wins by 40 or Duke wins, because I want to see JMU in this thing. Do I want to see 2 group of 5 teams in it? Not really. But the one I want to see is James Madison. So if it can't happen, then I guess I'm just going to have to root for Duke. I'm going to have to root for Duke. In the rest of the conference championship games, I'm going to be interested to see what they do with Ohio State, Indiana, what they do with the SEC winner, depending on who it is. Because I think if Bama wins, I understand they're a 9 seed right now. I think they want to put maximum value and really reward these conference championships. I'll tell you what I think. I think if Alabama wins, they're going to be a top 4 seed. I'll say that one more time. I think if Alabama wins, they're going to get a bye in the college football playoff. I've seen a lot of people say like the Big Ten, the 3 Big Ten teams might all get the byes if Texas Tech were to lose or Georgia were to lose. No. That's not happening. That is not happening. Alabama is going to get one of those top 4 seeds. They are getting bumped up there. It is going to go down that way. If they win, of course, they do have to get through Georgia. I promised I would not pick Georgia over Bama anymore. Don't know if I'm going to stick to it. Other point here, Ohio State, Indiana. They're number 1 and number 2. Let's say this comes down to the wire. It's a close game. Ohio State has a good game-winning drive. Indiana can't quite put together a 2-minute drill. Ohio State wins 27-24. Does anybody jump above Indiana? Or is Ohio State number 1 and Indiana number 2? And they say, you know what? Nope. This is a conference championship game. You guys earned the right to play it. The better team won, yes. But Indiana, you're staying at number 2. I think they would do that as long as maybe if Georgia doesn't win. If Georgia beats Alabama and avenges their only loss, I think Indiana probably drops to number 3. Or Ohio State, whichever loses. But I don't think either Big Ten team is dropping out of that top 3. I really don't. I don't think Texas Tech, if they win, they will get a bye, which you can see now they're number 4. And if Alabama wins, I think they will be that number 4. I think they will make that jump. So, those are my playoff ranking thoughts. That is my thought process about what this committee is thinking, even though they are lying to us. That's what I'm thinking about the conference championships. And I agree, we should put maximum value on them. And I agree that we should really reward these regular season games. It has to matter. Again, regular season guy. If BYU loses and Duke wins, Miami is jumping Notre Dame. They're going to put the ACC in this thing. They're going to do it. That is just what I think. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments. And again, like this video, sub to the channel. I'll catch you next time. Probably tomorrow.